Hi, good evening. It's Kyle T. Mosley of the Black Sports Insiders. Of course, I got the crew with me tonight. It's Thursday night. It's going to call Freestyle Thursday for everybody here. Guys, we're about to head into the weekend, and I know I am ready for the weekend. How about you, Kim?
I am ready. It is the Houston Texans home opener regular season. So I've been watching lots of preseason football, lots of training camp. Looking forward to that. Of course, TSU is off this week. It's an early week for a bye, but they've got a bye. It's probably a good time for them to have that bye. And the Astros are on the road, and I was at some Rocket stuff this week. So yeah, I'm ready.
Really? Some Rocket stuff. All right, what's happening with the Rockets? I'm kind of
They're gearing up. There'll be media days like in 2 weeks. The new facility is ready, and training camp's going to be here in town. So it's almost basketball season, y'all. Can you believe it?
It's here, man, and we're going to talk to a basketball aficionado later in the program, but. Well, we got to talk about this. The Boombox Classic is here, baby. And what I'm talking about, Jackson State and Southern, they're going to do it. Talk a little bit about what's going to happen over there in Jackson, right?
Kyle, it should be a good game. It's nothing like the Boombox Classic. I mean, the name itself says it all. I mean, that's just talking about the bands. You got the Sonny Boom of the South. You got the Human Jukebox. You got two good football teams coming in, too. Two good football teams coming off wins, massive wins against SIAC opponents. Obviously, Jackson State defeated Lane last week, and Southern's coming off a victory against Savannah State. And so it's a Southern team that's in a two-quarterback system. It'd be interesting to see if they would they go with their freshman or would they go with Noah Biden? And then they have a dominant rushing attack with two running backs. Their defense is going to be solid. I expect them to come in strong on defense. And then with Jackson State, same way. Cameron McCoy got the start last week against Lane, but of course Jacobian Morgan is the projected starter. Will likely probably start in that game on Saturday. But if not, you could potentially see both quarterbacks getting some playing time. I mean, it's just going to be a really good game, a really good atmosphere. It's going to be a ton of trash talk. I mean, you like HBCU football and HBCU classics, this game will deliver all of that.
Speaking of trash talk, we got Miss Keisha Kelly.
Right on time.
Right on time.
I don't know. My light's all the way off, but
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, Keisha, Wilton was just talking about you. And, I was trying to defend you, man. And he was saying some bad stuff about the Jaguars. And I was like, man, I'm not going to have that tonight.
Well, it's funny because I call myself real Southern University because I'm an undergrad, baby. See, I'm a real Southern Jaguar. I'm undergrad Southern. So all them times when we used to beat up on Jackson State, don't forget those times, okay?
Nah,
you a new age Tiger, but I'm old Southern. Okay? I'm old Southern. So I'm gonna remind you about all them times we didn't beat up on Jackson State when Jackson State went 3-8. That's when I was covering Jackson State pre-prime.
She got a point.
I was covering Jackson State when they was going 3-8.
Pre-prime and crime.
Point well taken.
I was covering Jackson State when they was losing. So,
oh my God.
Hey.
Will, you gonna let us talk to you like that, man?
We can't say that because it's true.
That is very much true. But like I said, the game's played on the field. The trash talk gonna always be in the stand, so I can go back and forth in that regard.
All right. Well, anyway, and we're gonna have more. The reason I got my Morehouse shirt on.
I wore mine today and my coat.
Right. Okay, good. We got fix your lighting, man.
There we go.
Listen, Kim said, "Can you move the lights?"
We want to see this. There we go. That's much better.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's
got helmet on. All right.
Yeah, I switched the helmet. I had Morehouse on earlier, and great. Now I'm sure you said something about Southern too. We just gonna see what Morehouse do this weekend.
Plead the fifth.
We gonna see what Morehouse do this weekend.
Well, Morehouse against the Howard Bison up there in New York. It's going to be a good one. And look, we're here to be able to provide the entertainment and everything for you guys. Morehouse is going to show out. I think it's still going to possibly be a close game. And the way Howard was last week there, Ray, it kind of made you a little bit nervous, did it?
Listen, sometimes you got to take the wins where you can get them.
Yeah. Ray, what's your thoughts about the Bison? Can you hear? All right, Ray.
My connection is not good right now.
What's your thoughts about the Bison?
Oh, yeah. Now I got you. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I shared early in the week they cannot lose this game. I know you're rooting for your team, but the Bison, if they want to take another step towards repeating as MEAC champions and returning to the Celebration Bowl, they need to make sure they beat Morehouse just like they did last year. Like they don't pull no punches.
See, they didn't play us last year. See, that's how inaccurate reporting you are doing at this time.
or 2 years ago.
That's a major infraction right there. So, where's my mute button when I need it? See,
what was the score though last time they met?
A little to a lot.
0-0 at halftime. How about that?
Is that what we're doing now? Halftime scores?
Well, sounds like they took.
You know what his team.
They took a
Eagles in the quarter early, right? 12-10.
Yeah.
All right, come on now. Well, guys, it's been kind of an eventful day. HBCU Go just announced that they have a new partnership with Procter & Gamble, and they're going to expand their programming over at HBCU Go, where Tyler Carr from HBCU Game Day, he's going to be the host with Jacqie McCoy, I believe, and it's just going to be a good pregame launch. I had a chance to speak to Curtis Simon, who is the president of HBCU Go, and Curtis was very excited because there isn't any pregame show for HBCU out there that's been consistent. And he's got to be right about this one. You know, you got Charlie Neal, of course. They've tried it a number of times back in BET, what have you, but to be on campus, to be like you have on the Fox Big Show and all the other stuff, I think that's what they're trying to go with. And I'm kind of interested to see how everything's going to go. I think we could be able to bring a better element, bring our culture out, talk about the battle of the bands, talk about the pageantry and everything else. What's your feelings about that, Kim?
So when you say Curtis Simons, you know, I used to work with Curtis when I was working at BET.
Wow. And
he has always been very passionate about HBCU sports. Even when Willie Gary had that stint at the NBC Sports, and we did a lot of live games and broadcasts, and did them just like you would do them for anywhere else. And so the good thing is that it's just Curtis, and he feels like it should be no drop off in production and quality because it's HBCUs. So I'm super confident that he's going to do a good job with it. And it's necessary. I mean, because it's important and there's nowhere else to really get it. And I think it needs somebody like a Curtis or somebody who has a passion for the difference in the culture that HBCU sports brings. And not everybody has that. And they're not able to capture it. And I think it's long overdue, and I'm excited to see what they come up with.
Yeah, should be really good. Good lineup, of course. They also added 3 new segments to their broadcast as well. So we should see how that will translate into some good content when you watch the HBCU Go telecast. And I know they're going to be at the Southern Heritage Classic this year, right? Tennessee State is hosting
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff. All right. Yeah, Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff had a big win last week, 73-0, but we keep on forgetting they had a big loss week 1, 0-72. So that must be the biggest swing, Wilton, that any team has had in 2 weeks, going from 0-72 to 73-0 on the scoreboard. So that should be a good one. Eddie George, I know he said he does not mind the opportunity to have the classic again with Jackson State. How the Jacksonians feeling about that?
Oh, since they found out that they weren't playing Tennessee State, they want that game back. I can guarantee you. And most of them, their sentiments with that situation as to why they're not playing Tennessee State, they all point that back towards Coach Prime. And I can assure you, most of them, this was a game that's traditionally had always been Jackson State, Tennessee State for a while. Not every single year, but for a while. And so students, alumni, they were looking forward to leaving Jackson on a Thursday or a Friday, making a 3.5-hour trip to Memphis to enjoy a good game against a competitive and quality Tennessee State opponent. So it's not bad that they switched up the two teams in this game, but it's just not the same. It just doesn't give that same feel as your traditional Southern Heritage Classic as we know it to be within like the last 2 decades.
Yeah, definitely. Classics, old rivalries, culture, clashes between family and friends, longtime loved ones is all there when you have Tennessee State and Jackson State, and going back to old John Merritt days, and the legends that were on the sidelines for Jackson State as well. It's just great to be able to have that back, and hopefully next year they can be able to renew the rivalry. Just like Morehouse when we're going to beat up on Howard, guys. So I see you smirking there, Ray.
You don't even believe that.
All right, guys. Kim.
Yes.
We had a good conversation with Coach Tomekia Reed. She left Jackson State. She's now at UNC Charlotte. Talk a little bit about what she was discussing with you.
Yeah, it was good. And I actually cut it in half because I had a chance to talk with her for quite a while. And she just really talked about the differences, right? She spent so much time in Jackson State. She made it very clear that while she is super excited about this opportunity and all that's coming with it, that she was always very committed to Jackson State. She was, as she put it, 2 feet in when she was there. So she just talked about the difference, what's different, in terms of resources and putting the team together and, moving her son and just all that comes with being in this different conference. And you don't really know what you don't have until you have something different. And that's what she's doing right now. So she talks about, and, she's embracing it and looking forward to it, but she has a lot of love for Jackson State and for SWAC and HBCUs in general.
Now, Wilton, you're there at Jackson State. What's the vibe since she's gone and now Coach Prime's gone as well? Is it kind of different for the Jackson State faithful?
Yes, it's different. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing. I think the people who were following Jackson State before Coach Prime I'll talk about Coach Prime first. The people that were following Jackson State before Coach Prime got there are still following Jackson State. I think it's a situation of obviously fans, alumni, people that watched Jackson State during his tenure enjoyed the fact that Jackson State had the level of success that they had, but Jackson State football is still alive and well, and people that enjoy Jackson State football after Prime and obviously into TC Taylor's second year running the program, they're still watching Jackson State football. You're talking about a coach in TC Taylor who was a former player through Jackson State, so he knows the culture of what it's supposed to look like. And when you talk about Tomekia Reed, one word I can describe with Tomekia Reed is dominance. From her first season when she got there, I remember her first season, she struggled a little bit in the regular season, and people kind of questioned, like, well, did they make the right decision? Did Jackson State make the right hire? That first season, she ended up going to the SWAC tournament, getting to either the semifinal or the championship game, and she lost to Southern. But after that, you talk about back-to-back years, recruiting classes were strong, players that she brought into the program were strong. It was just a different level of energy that you grew to expect from Jackson State women's basketball, and she did it. She left her mark on Jackson State basketball, and going forward, obviously Jackson State has a new coach, but there's a certain expectation that Jackson State women's basketball has now, and you can only hope that the new coach is going to live up to that in her own way.
Right. Did she give you a sense, Kim, that there's some trepidation with this new role that she has embarked on and accepted over at UNC Charlotte?
No, not at all. In fact, just the opposite. She said she feels ready. She's excited and energized. She's just making adjustments to like being in a big city and dealing with traffic and, now having to have a calendar, right? And I laughed. I said, because I'm one of those people that says, if it is not on my calendar, it does not exist. And she said, people used to always talking about calendars, and now I know I have a calendar. I have a calendar for my son. So she talked about the things that are different, but she didn't seem anxious. She seems excited, but definitely ready for the moment.
All right, guys, let's take a listen to Coach Reed. Let's pay some bills first, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Where could reinvention take your business? Accenture, let there be change.
Technology lets you monitor your pet when you're not at home. But to monitor threats to your hybrid workforce wherever they are, you need more than technology. You need CDW, who gets to know your business and can design and deploy custom solutions with pre-configured HP notebooks with HP Wolf Security. AI-enabled threat detection and remote management protect your endpoints 24/7, giving your defenses some real teeth.
Bummer.
HP makes always-on remote security possible. CDW makes it powerful.
This is how it starts with the 2023 McDonald's Change Leaders. 10 young Black visionaries who are starting something and changing everything. Find out what they're up to at mcdchangeleaders.com.
This is it. Our last night sharing a room. Tomorrow we'll be in our new home.
They told you buying a home would take years, but didn't help you start. Still, you kept trying.
You'll have a yard to play in, a place to dream.
Hope makes it happen. With tailored mortgage solutions, Hope Credit Union makes homeownership happen for thousands of people, regardless of income or credit. Brighter futures begin with hope.
So I'm excited to have Coach Tomekia Reed joining me today for a little conversation. I've had a chance to follow you when you were in the SWAC. I know you were the 4-time SWAC Coach of the Year, had a ton of success at Jackson State and a very impressive spring, so much so that in addition to all the other great work you've done, you are now in a new home. So thank you for chatting with me, and how are you?
Well, I'm doing good. Right now, it's just a really exciting time. We have had an opportunity to bring in 14 new players, a new staff, much bigger staff. And so right now, I am just adjusting to our new team, our new staff, our new city, and getting my son acclimated with school. But other than that, it's been really good, great environment. I'm super excited to see what we do here at Charlotte.
So I have to go back to something. You said you have 14 new players. So yes. Is everybody new? Is there anybody left?
Well, we had 4 players that remained from the previous team. And then I brought in 3 players from Jackson State. And then the other players were all brought in from the transfer portal. But I say 14 new players because even my players have to learn how to play the new system with new players. And so we're all just learning each other all over again in a new setting. So I'm not necessarily the same person I was at Jackson State. You grow and you evolve. And so my players are the same way, but they are familiar with who I am and my work ethics. But overall, I like to say 14 new players because we're trying to make all of them gel together.
So let's kind of talk about that. You are obviously you grow and evolve, not the same. Tell me what's different. I mean, obviously it's a bigger school, it's a different conference, but talk about some of the things that stood out to you first as being, oh, this is really different in your new place.
Yeah, well, the resources are different. The things that have been provided in order for me to function, for the team to function, for us to be successful, The budget is bigger. And so, you're trying to kind of maneuver within that space in terms of what do we need and what do we don't need. And that's all so different because, from where I come from is, you want to make sure you're saving and you're not overspending and you're being very cautious of, where you are within the budget and what you can and cannot do. Well, there's a little bit more wiggle room here. And so just navigating in that space have been really, has been different, and I have a calendar now. I didn't have a calendar before. And I didn't understand when people would say, oh, let me check my calendar, and so now I get it. I have a lot of meetings with the alum. I have a lot of meetings with boosters. I have a lot of meetings with people who want to come and sponsor, not just women's basketball, but the athletic department. And so there's a lot of luncheons. There's a lot of coffee meetings. And so that's really new for me because I am always strictly about basketball. And so to be engaged in the community like that has been very interesting, to say the least. And I like it. I like that I get an opportunity to talk to people face to face and talk about our vision and where we want to take the program to. So that's been the biggest difference for me. Having so many people who have access to my calendar, who puts things on my calendar on a regular basis.
That sounds like that's a lot, and that is different. How excited are you about all of these things and what it means that you're going to be able to do with your new team?
I am very excited. I get an opportunity to take this thing to another level, get an opportunity to see how basketball is taught and how it's viewed from a different perspective. At Jackson State, I consider ourselves the underdogs. We were always in the fight for respect. We were always in the fight for a place. We were always in a fight to be seen, to be heard. And, I like the underdog story. So I'm obviously going to carry that here to Charlotte. But, some of that changes a little bit. And I'm excited to get a chance to see what it's like to be on a playing field where you're already respected before you come in the door. HBCUs playing Power Fives, that was a lot, and so you had to earn that respect, and we did that. So now you're in a conference, in the AAC conference, you're in a conference that's respected. You're in a conference that's considered group of 6, right there underneath Power 5. So I'm just excited to be able to be in this space and to see what the future holds for us and our program and me as a coach.
When did you know that you were ready for the next step? You had so much success before. And like you said, you were, not that you, were planning to stay there forever, but when did you know this is great, but I'm ready? I can go to the next place. Is there a point that it turned on for you, or was it when people started really talking about you in that way?
You know what? I think the latter part of your statement is what happened. When people really started talking about, hey, Coach Reed needs a chance. Give her a chance. Stop recycling the same coaches is what Coach Gino said from UConn.
Yeah.
This woman needs a chance. Dawn Staley, Kim Mulkey, when we played LSU in the NCAA tournament, they were all saying the same thing. And it was like, you know what? I can coach at this level. This is fun. This is high level, and the strategizing is different. But I love that. And, when I was able to see our team in the SWAC with way less resources than those schools, and we were there competing, I was like, you know what? We're doing some really good things at this level. And we can go to another level and be as successful as we are here. We should be able to. And so that's why, I've always thought that. But I want to be very clear. I was always 2 feet in at Jackson State. And I think that's why God has been so good to me and has truly blessed me. I really wanted to make a difference. I really wanted to do things that had never been done. I really wanted to knock down walls and, for the underdogs to rise. That was my goal. And I really wanted to win the first round of the NCAA tournament. And we had done everything except for that. So, I'm just thankful for this next opportunity to be here and to take those experiences that I had at Jackson State here to Charlotte.
We'll be right back for more information and talking about Coach Reed.
See those people right there? Mm-hmm. When they get inside and find out this place doesn't serve food, they're going to wish they had done this. Facts.
Get one favorite like a Big Mac or Quarter Pounder with cheese and get another for just $1 right now at McDonald's.
Where could reinvention take your business? Accenture, let there be change.
Technology lets you monitor your pet when you're not at home. But to monitor threats to your hybrid workforce wherever they are, you need more than technology. You need CDW, who gets to know your business and can design and deploy custom solutions with pre-configured HP notebooks with HP Wolf Security. AI-enabled threat detection and remote management protect your endpoints 24/7, giving your defenses some real teeth.
Bummer.
HP makes always-on remote security possible. CDW makes it powerful.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, we are back. Kim, talk about that conversation. It was pretty good. The first part that we've heard.
Yeah, I think it was, it was good to see that, you asked earlier, was there any trepidation, that she's really comfortable. She is embracing the challenges that come with it and all of the support, right? She says she's gotten great support so far. She is one of her goals, and she talks about it in the second part of our interview, is really making sure that they have they fill the seats in the stadium. She talked about how the excitement around women's basketball is helpful, and it's something that they hope to build on there at UNC Charlotte. So she's got a lot of goals, but the core of who she is and her approach to the game, that hasn't changed. It's just some of the things around her. She has a few more tools to work with in her tool chest. And, she's getting adjusted. One of the things that she did talk about is that the whole idea of traffic, that's new to her. She said, we don't have traffic. There's traffic here. So it's the little things that you might not think of. I mean, I live in Houston, right? I'm from Houston. And when I've lived in other cities, I've always been from Houston. And so, yeah, I can imagine somebody moving to a bigger city and you've not grown up in that. Things like getting adjusted to traffic are even different. So she's getting adjusted, but she's enjoying it. She's ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have to ask this one question. Resources. She talked about lack of resources at Jackson State. We go over this year in and year out when it comes to coaches in football as well as basketball. Going to Charlotte, we keep forgetting she had LSU on the ropes with that team a few years ago. Do you think in a few years we're going to be talking about Coach Reed and what she's doing with the 49ers?
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is a coach in Tomekia Reed that when she has her mind set on something, she's going to do it. She's relentless. She's going to go after her goals. And like I said, I just go back to her tenure and watching her at Jackson State. Before coming to Jackson State, coming from a community college, taking over this program. A lot of people forget, before she got there, Jackson State program had essentially been in the dumps. And she pretty much resurrected the program and brought it back. Not only did she bring it back to prominence, she brought it back to prominence and then some, continuously winning at the conference level, continuously having a competitive non-conference schedule where obviously they didn't necessarily win every single game in non-conference play. But a lot of those games, more so in her latter years of coaching that program, she made those games competitive. A lot of people forget some of the teams that she put on the schedule against some of the Power Five teams from different conferences that they played. And then also just on display of what happened when they faced UConn. Obviously, that the score of the game indicated that UConn won, but like if you went to that game, which I was there, you would know that like that game, it was not like just the major blowout that you thought it was. It was just a matter of like not being able to make shots at that particular time when you need players to make them. But overall, I would expect Tomekia Reed to continue to excel and continue to grow as a coach and the coach that she wants to become at the next level.
Yeah. And I like the fact at the press conference, UConn's coach, Gus, he laid it out there. She needs an opportunity. We can't keep recycling coaches over and over and over in Division I. But something's going to be lost. That sisterhood, that leadership in the SWAC. I know Dawn Thornton is going to do her best, Keisha, this year to kind of take over and be that leader in the SWAC. But you've had conversations with Tomekia Reed. How does it feel not to have her?
I've followed Tomekia for a while, and we'll have side conversations and we'll have conversations because I do believe with people that I interview, I always establish a different relationship outside of just we're doing an interview. And so even after she announced, it was kind of like a sidebar, and even it's kind of going back to the interview she had with Kim when she's talking about the resources. And without her, getting so political and talking about it publicly, because, we'll hold people to it. She just kind of said, people just don't understand, Keisha. And I'm like, Coach, I get it. I understand. We know that we're up against a lot of things when you talk about budget cuts, you're talking about resources, you're talking about when you go somewhere else. We know that we're up against different things. And so it was, no lie, even though, it's a rival, you hate to lose somebody like that, of that caliber, to another school, but you wish them well. So it's kind of like a catch-22. But, still, even after that, it was like, I always still check in and like, hey, still following, still watching, still, still wishing you well, even though you moved on. But that's what you do. You want them to do better. You want them to move on because like she said, we deserve those kind of opportunities. You can coach at that level. And like Wilton said, year after year, she made it competitive games. And no matter what the score showed, she made those games very competitive. And even when she talked about playing LSU, they literally had them on the ropes.
Yeah,
and
sure
so
did.
it was one of the games I think everybody wanted Jackson State to win at that point.
Yeah.
But
I think I must have had a track running around this
everybody
house,
wanted
I was like, man,
Jackson State to win, but like I said, you wish her well, but it's a blow. It is when you lose that kind of person.
Hey, Kyle, let me say this. I think another thing to add on to what Keisha said is, while she's in another conference now, what she can provide for the sisterhood is maybe some mentorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think she can share things that she's going to have access to and know, and so all of those things are good. Like that's how we continue to, I think, lift each other up. Like she's gone to a new conference, but she's not going to Afghanistan. So she should still be able, because it's the person she is. I think that she will still provide that, be a part of that sisterhood. She'll be busy, but she was already busy. And so I imagine that she will continue to share with the coaches in the SWAC and other HBCUs because she appreciates the way others have shared with her. That's what I get from her.
Yeah, definitely. And also think about this. Dawn Staley is right there.
Yeah.
Not too far away. If she needs someone to be able to call on the master. So it's right there, man. It was good to see them also at the White House this past week. We're talking about South Carolina's the Gamecocks. They were there to be able to meet President Biden. And Dawn Staley looks refreshed a little bit there, Ray. I think the Gamecocks, the ladies, are ready to be able to repeat. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and she's got so much talent that's still coming back. You think you lose a few players each year, including Cardoza, who, I mean, she was dominant. That was a difference maker, especially against LSU. But she just continues to stack talent. And until somebody beats her, it's the Ric Flair, as Connell Maynard said, woo! To beat a man, you got to beat the man. So you got to knock off South Carolina. And there's so many teams that want to do that, but to accomplish that with the way that Dawn Staley can recruit and just the type of person she is, her energy is infectious. And I think that that's big for people around the country, especially those who want to go play for her and the families of those players.
Definitely. All right. Keisha, you had a very good conversation today. Well, not today, a couple of days ago with Commissioner Jacqie McWilliams-Parker. I always tell people, and I love Sonia Steele, but she's my favorite. She's always been my favorite, HBCU. And Dr. Kiki Barnes, I love you too. You right there.
Like no discrimination.
No discrimination, no haterade. It's just a lot of love that we have to be able to honor these ladies who are leaders in sports right now. Talk about your conversation.
So conversation with Commissioner McWilliams-Parker. The first thing we opened up with, I was like, a lot has happened. You've gotten married. So we kind of open up with, a joke, just talking about it. And the thing is that I met Commissioner years ago, but I had never interviewed her. And we had talked about that so many times, interview. And then finally, we get to the point where you finally do interview her. And it was just a great conversation. The thing about Commissioner, she's very, very, very passionate about those student athletes. She's very passionate about the CIAA, very passionate about HBCUs. But one of the things that I can say that she really highlighted and making sure that it's being done and brought to the forefront is making sure that women's sports are getting the same attention over in the CIAA that the men's sports are getting. So to just talk to her and just, hear how passionate she is about the CIAA. Very, 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 that is a competitive commissioner. She is very, very, very competitive. So
she was a competitive ball player. So.
I said, can you still play basketball and volleyball? She was like, girl, yes. As long as you don't ask me to do X, Y, and Z. So,
you should see her out there dribbling, and she was playing baseball and throwing the baseball with her husband the other day. So, yeah, I mean, she does it all.
She's a very,
she's a great lady.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Commissioner McWilliams-Parker.
Commissioner.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining me today. I'm not gonna hold you up. I know y'all had a road. Y'all went to Baltimore over the weekend. I know it's been busy. It's been crazy busy. And we're in the height of football season. It's just like you, one of the players, because you're traveling everywhere. So, I'm not going to hold it long, but I want to say thank you for joining me. Guys, Commissioner McWilliams-Parker joined the CIAA in 2012. I didn't realize it had been 12 years.
I know, me neither.
I didn't realize it had been 12 years. I was like, it's been that long? For some reason, I wanted it to be a shorter time, but it hasn't been a shorter time. So, first female to serve as commissioner for the CIAA and first African-American female commissioner representing NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3. Let's hop right into it. What was that like? Because that's a standard. That's a standard, Commissioner.
Yeah, it's I always say, I didn't go in to be the first. I just wanted to be the commissioner of the conference. And, I didn't realize I was the first until everybody started talking about it. And then I was the first for a long time, but now there's 7 Black women who are commissioners in all levels, Division 1, 2, and 3, and NAIA. They're all my sister friends and colleagues. We count on each other. But, I think initially, like most Black women who are first, sometimes you feel that pressure. You don't want to mess up. You don't want to not do a great job because sometimes it may close the door for other women who look like you based on what they thought about you. So, I think the pressure of just not being a disappointment to my family, to the community, to the board who hired me, to the student athletes who depend on me, and really to myself. I think it's just finding that confidence that I'm not an imposter. I deserve to be in this position. I worked hard to get in the position. And so once you figure that piece out, then being the first is just what it is. It's just making sure you're not the last.
And I don't think I even seven. That is a lot of people. Again, I think the time has gone so fast, not even realizing that, there are other commissions in this space. And I do remember you being the only for so long. And it does put you in that place of pressure, because it's like, okay, well, you the first. And let's just say it was a man. Let's be honest. If it was a man, it'd be like, oh, okay, well, he messed up. We moving on. A woman cannot. We can't mess it up. We cannot mess it up. We mess it up, it's a problem. But like you said, you went into it just to be the commissioner. You didn't say I want to be the first, but it happened, and we celebrate that. That's flowers. We celebrate that. That can never change. That's etched in stone. So we celebrate that. So 9 years at NCAA, managing NCAA championship in men's and women's Division I basketball tournament. Now I know that you've been in coaching, compliance, and administration at Virginia Union, Norfolk, and Morgan State. So you got this whole HBCU circle going. Tell us what that was like, because everything had something different.
Yeah, I think it's everything. I try to encourage a couple things. I tell students, don't limit yourself to think that going to an HBCU will limit you. Matter of fact, it will maximize and open doors for you. So don't let people discourage you from going to a Black institution. They don't have no money. That's not true. Everyone's experience is different. And those who haven't experienced, you shouldn't be telling people not to go to a Black college right there. The other thing is HBCUs were the first institutions to give me a foot in the door and the opportunity to work in college athletics. I mean, I applied, we get our master's degree, we get our undergrad, and we think we're ready. Somebody's going to hire me.
Somebody must have put me on
it. I was a receptionist. I was in Atlanta. I was at Dillard's, wherever. I was at department stores, Parks and Rec. I was doing whatever I needed to do to survive, or at least have a income coming in, because my parents were like, look at here, you got 2 degrees, being able to be taking care of a grown woman. So, you do what you got to do. You try to make the networks that you can. I was fortunate, to leave my mark at Hampton University, where the athletic director, Dennis Thomas, who is a retired now commissioner from the MEAC, was my mentor. He was my athletic director, and he always saw something in me. And the board at the time, advisory group at the CIAA, they helped me get my postgraduate scholarship and NCAA postgraduate scholarship. So, when people invest in you, it's nice when they can see you trying to navigate and pull you back in. And that's what HBCUs did for me. And I see us do it a lot for a lot of our students and our athletes and administrators. When somebody else doesn't give you a chance, we always give you a place to land, to get your feet wet and to get back solid, to move forward. And that's what it did. Virginia Union was my first place. I'll be forever in love with Virginia Union. I'm in their Hall of Fame. Their women's athletics program needed some TLC, and I was young. I think I was 22 or 23 when I took that job on, and these young ladies were 18 and 19, and here I am supposed to be acting like the adult. But I did. I grew up really quick to give them a place to play and to love the game of volleyball and basketball. And of course, HBCUs, we might have multiple jobs. I was compliance and governance, but it was probably the best place I could go to learn and to earn, and then learn how to return. That's my 2020. And so Norfolk State, same. I was in the CIAA, but it's time to move and transition from the conference office at that time. And Orvie Moss at Norfolk State, another opportunity to go work for a pretty amazing leader. I actually went to college with his son, didn't figure that out till later. But he was a great leader, no nonsense, taught me how to be prepared. I mean, I think it's just the culture of HBCUs. Like we are a culture that's committed to excellence, no matter where you go, and to make sure that people get what they need as best as they can, so they're prepared to go to the next place or the next opportunity. And that's what Morgan State did as well. They pushed me out the nest because I wasn't trying to leave Morgan. I love Morgan State. And I remember Dr. Perry or Mr. Perry, who was in the VP of Student Affairs, was like, the NCAA is probably like that one opportunity that you'll get. It's hard to get those jobs. And I was on national committees, so I had already had the network and connections. And that's how I even got the chance to apply, because of my relationships there. And so when I applied and got the job, I was out. And that's when I went to the Indianapolis and never wanted to live in Indy. Don't like Indianapolis. Don't like cold weather. But it was truly a place where I grew and learned to love organizational structure, the politics, the governance, membership, making a difference for student athletes. And that's where the passion of wanting to come back to the CIAA came. I wanted to come home and give as best as I could with less resources, but still have resources to give them those experiences we were giving to students across the nation at the NCAA.
All right. That is very powerful information, as well as some background stuff. I did not know about her struggling like that. But everybody who struggles and goes through it has a great story, and she also has a great mission, right?
Right.
So in the talk with her, I know she was the first, and now we have Dr. Kiki Barnes, who's a part of the HBCU Athletic Conference. We have Sonia Steele, who's the commissioner of the MEAC. And you have a number of athletic directors that are just coming up, and VPs of athletic as well, that are just popping up all over the place. How does she feel about that? Did she even talk a little bit about how the growth in for the women who leading these sports departments and conferences are really impacting young ladies like yourself, Keisha, and other younger ladies?
Well, a portion of that interview, you know, she did talk about, like, we talked about the mentoring, and we did talk about like the committees that she sat on and being the voice in those rooms for those young ladies, which is in part when she's talking about bringing more exposure to, you know, women in sports. That's one of her key things, is making sure that there's the same amount of exposure for those young ladies, you know, as those guys that are playing in the CIAA. So we know it's football season, but you still got to get, you know, volleyball out there. You still got to get, you know, let's say soccer. You still have to get those, you know, those women's sports. And that was one of the things I say she was really passionate about, was talking about, you know, bringing that in more exposure, or making sure they get the same exposure. And I tell y'all, she did drop that tidbit. She said, you know, they're talking about getting flag football for women. So, you know, we look up and it's flag football, but that, you know, just, you know, like she said, I didn't go in, you know, to be the first, but it happened like that. And, you know, for people that know her, she's really serious. I always say that they protect her. They protect the commissioner. Women that are around her protect her really much. She don't have to say a word, because if you say something to her, they're going to clap back for her. She's that person, and she's always been that person. And we laughed about that, but they do. They're very protective of the commissioner.
Kim, I know you've been covering sports for a long time, and being able to see how we have several different women commissioners, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's exciting. I have covered sports for over 30 years. I started when I was 12, if you're trying to do the math. But
I thought it was 2. I thought it was 2.
I was like, wait, let me start. I started counting like 12. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna go with that number. But it is exciting to see. You know, and I'm laughing, Kyle, when you said, man, to find out that she struggles. She's a Black woman in sports. Of course she struggled.
Absolutely. That's what we do.
She does it so class. She has so much class about it, right?
Listen, you know, and that's what you have to do. That's why she's having a success, because when you decide as a woman to step into this space, you already know, especially if you've been in it a long time where there really weren't any others, you say, okay, I'm going to deal with this, and whatever comes with it, I'm just going to be committed, and I'm going to be great, and I'm going to get there. And I think that's the attitude that she probably had. And so what you see now is just the fact that she's polished, she's gone through it, she knows what she's doing, she's confident, and it's just good to see her there, and to know that there's 6 others, so there's 7 of them, and I think that's pretty exciting, which means that there's room for a lot more.
Yeah, and Ray, you've been to those CIAA basketball tournaments. Those are some of the best in the world, and I spoke to Stephen Gaither about it, and he said it's just because of the history on that East Coast and how people just gravitate to that tournament, and it's just in close proximity being in Baltimore. Talk about what she's been able to do with that tournament and transform it into like a mega event.
I'm gonna stay positive. Even though I live in the state of Maryland, I'm not gonna lie. I liked it better when it was down south in Charlotte. So I don't want to start anything though. But I just had to mention it. But in terms of the state of Maryland and having the support of the governor and so much revenue that it brings to Baltimore and what it does for that community and that city is so important. And that's partly why she did not want to move it back down south as many people requested. You know, it's hard to adapt to change. And moving into Baltimore was huge for the CIAA. But what she was saying is Baltimore City already gets a bad rap. And then also we got older folk who don't want to get used to the digital age. They don't want to scan the barcode to get into the arena. But she's like, we got to evolve. And the CIAA tournament has evolved greatly. The culture is still great. The schools are still good. And she is just doing a lot in terms of just, again, creating opportunities for Black businesses, especially in that area too. And she loves that aspect and her energy level. I mean, they heckle her sometimes because she got the Hampton ties. They call it Hampton Institute around here. That's Howard. But she laughs it off. She just always seems like she's having a good time. And I think that energy just rubs off on so many people. And it's also brought eyes out from outside the HBCU world to HBCU basketball at that level. And I think it's amazing. People love to go just for it being a social event, not just because it's great basketball.
Yeah. And last thing, Keisha, I mean, the partnerships and the sponsorships she's been able to bring in since being a commissioner and being able to fund that event, as well as the helping to grow that conference that is the oldest conference for Black sports in the country. So how important was that? Is that something that she touched on later in the interview?
She did talk about the partnerships, and here recently, I guess a couple of days ago, she was talking about HBCU Go. I think she might have said, I want to say 10 years. But they're now, you know, all of their games you can watch their games and everything on HBCU Go TV as well. And, you know, HBCU Go TV just has quality content. They truly do. And so that was probably like the main thing, because it's the most recent. Just talking about that. And, you know, we talked about some deals that they had done when she first came in, but that's the main one that's just come about, the partnership with HBCU Go TV.
Yeah, I know they worked a number of years to be able to make sure that one was going to make sense for the CIAA, and I'm glad they were able to get it done. All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping up the show. Just got word of a unfortunate incident. West Virginia State postponed their game because of a homicide. Did you hear about that one, Wilt?
I did not hear about that. But no, I mean, it's just even when you hear about a situation like that, you just, you know, it's just your heart goes out to that situation, and you just never something that you ever want to hear in a situation with an HBCU or a student or anything like that.
Yeah, one of their football players, Mr. Harrington, he lost his life on Wednesday. It was a off-campus incident. And he was a senior member of the Yellow Jacket football team. And let's pray for him, his family. But I just think something like that has to really affect you. I recall my senior year losing one of my band members, and that was close to us. And we just we weren't the same after that, man. So let's pray for his family, as well as the West Virginia State family who are going to be affected by that. Nick Cannon is going to be the host of the Honda Battle of the Bands out in California in January. Nick Cannon, that should be great to have the drum line back, right?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Nobody really says anything about that one. Okay, all right. Nick Cannon and probably all his 12 kids.
I was just about to say something about that.
You see, Keisha and I refrained. We did not even go there.
I just know Southern's gonna be there. That's all I got.
The human jukebox.
Often
All right, guys.
never duplicated.
Okay, often imitated, never duplicated is right. They are, in my opinion, one of the premier bands in the land, as well as Jackson State. The Boombox Classic is going to happen. How do you see it? Not Jackson and not Miss Kelly. How do you see that one going on, Miss Davis? Who's going to win that one?
Yeah, you're not about to draw me into that one. I don't have a card in this kind at all. I think it'll just be a great competition.
Okay. All right. We lost a legend. Frankie Beverly passed away this week, as well as James Earl Jones. We spoke about that earlier in the week. But Frankie Beverly had such a great impact on the city of New Orleans when I was growing up. And that live album that he and Mays were able to perform and did, that was a classic. And the people of New Orleans never let him forget it, and they always cherished him for that. But across the nation, people love Frankie Beverly. Any thoughts about Mr. Beverly that you guys would like to talk to the audience about before we leave?
You talk about a legend, and he was big in New Orleans, but he was big in Texas. I mean, it was like his second home, of course, out in California. He just was a cross-generational kind of talent. And today, Jalen Hurts, who is kind of an old soul, right, was talking about the loss of Frankie Beverly. So it reached people who, you went to a concert and you knew not only the lyrics, but you knew the playlist, you knew the order. And so that Frankie Beverly was definitely a part of the culture. And so he will be missed. He will definitely be missed. But his music will live on. So we do have that. But condolences to his family, because when you have a star like that, you share them with everybody. And so the loss is felt by all of us, but definitely by his family.
Yeah.
I think it's even to add to that, you talk about homecomings, cookouts, all, that music is played across the board. And I don't know how many, Essence Fests and stuff that, New Orleans done. It's like, all right, the lineup somewhere on there. They're going to be in that lineup. But I agree with the sentiments. His family shared him with us, and it was just like a tremendous loss. And it is that music, like you said, it's gonna live on forever because it's cookouts, and we're gonna hear it at homecomings, and we're gonna hear it at halftimes even more. It's gonna be amplified now that he's gone.
Yeah, look, I had an opportunity to see him at multiple Zulu balls.
See.
It was just known, hey, it was going to be, we hope it's Frankie Beverly. That's all we would care about. Is Frankie Beverly, we were still good. And you were going to have a great time at the Zulu Ball in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. All right, guys, and any upcoming games in the MEAC that we should focus on there, Ray?
A lot of money games this weekend. That's what Connell Maynard calls them. He said you got to play those big schools. So you got South Carolina State playing Georgia Southern, North Carolina Central's playing the Tar Heels, North Carolina, and then Morgan State's playing Ohio. So good luck to those teams. Excited to see what Chinnisbury is going to do. But it's the Battle of the Bay. That's what everybody's looking at in the MEAC this weekend. Norfolk and Hampton. We talked about it Monday. Coach Odom's got to have this one. Got to have this game.
I think Coach O is going to pull it out, man. Those Pirates, they're kind of pesky, but I think Coach O is going to pull it out.
You got to. He ain't got no choice. Man.
All right. And look, guys, if y'all need to follow more of the content that we have, go to HBCU Legends, and you can check us out at hbculegends.net. I'm going to have all the latest scores this weekend. We're going to have some updates. I'm probably will do a couple of halftime updates for you guys as well. And also, we're going to have some previews of the games to focus on in the SWAC. And Prairie View is going up to Michigan State. That's going to be very interesting how that one comes out of the wash. But there's some good schools and good programs that are going to be in your area. Go and support them. They really need to have your attendance and need to have you there. Last thoughts before we get off the air, guys.
When you mentioned Frankie Beverly, I thought you was going to do the freak. Remember you did that on my show, man. You had to do the dance.
I just have to say this about Frankie Beverly. As a person who was in the band in high school, and I went to a predominantly all-black high school, Jimmy Hill High School in Jackson, Mississippi, not far from Jackson State. Of course, everybody remembers Before I Let Go, but if you've ever had the chance, well, all of us, I'm sure, have had the chance to listen to Golden Time of Day, like a band playing that song. Oh my God! Like when he passed away. Oh, absolutely. It just hits different now.
It does. And I had a chance to listen to it today as well, man. And I think it was the Jackson State band playing it. And it was great to listen to. Guys, I'm Kyle T. Mosley of Black Sports Insiders with Kim Davis, Keisha Kelly, Wilton Jackson II, and Ray Rogers. And Wale, we miss you again, baby. We are out. Take care. Have a good day.